why would you continue to watch this crap?
Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead. Podsednik hits one to deep right center field. Back at the wall. This ball is gone. Podsednik goes deep. Freebay charges, throws, out, and the White Sox have won the World Series. To the Richard, across the cage, he scores! Here's who's going to look the third time in 6 years. The Blackhawks are Stanley Cup champions. He will glove it through to Rizzo. It's in time, and the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
And welcome to Windy City Sports Talk. Combs and Fitz coming to you live on a Monday night. Some tough news for Cubs fans and for baseball fans around the world today, with Ryne Sandberg letting the world know that he is battling metastatic pancreatic cancer. That's tough, because when it's metastatic, it definitely means that it's moving beyond his pancreas and into other lymph nodes, and it's spreading. So he's in for a tough battle. I grew up watching Ryne Sandberg, man. It was one of my grandfather's favorite players. It was my uncle's favorite player. It became my favorite player. I named my 8-year-old's name is Ryan, after Ryne Sandberg. And so it was tough news for Cubs fans, tough news for, his family, for sure. Both of us have suffered losses over the last year as well. So we know what they're about to endure, and it's no fun, for sure.
Yeah, starting the show on a high note. No, it is tough. It is tough, and it is tough news. One of my favorite players wouldn't even trade my doubles when you had doubles of a card, or
yeah,
I wouldn't even trade them to my brother Johnny or Joe when I had them. Always wanted to see him do well, even as a manager. Right. I really liked his Hall of Fame speech, even though it was kind of against roids, which we can get to a little bit if you like. But
we're definitely going to get into that tonight.
One of the first things I remember is his no error streak.
Mm-hmm.
Placido Polanco and his alienation head beat recently. We were talking about before the show.
Yeah, 127 games he went between errors at second base.
At second base, especially with his size. And yeah, he didn't have range, so he's not getting to probably as many balls as other players, but played a great second base. One of the best second basemen ever. I mean, when it comes to power, at the top. I mean, Tuve, maybe the only guy in the game who's close to him right now. Not a lot of players that play second base hit the ball for power that well.
Yeah, and I mean, he was phenomenal. He was a phenomenal defensive player, phenomenal offensive player. We know June 23rd every year. It's known as the Sandberg game, because on June 23rd, back in 1984, he hit 2 home runs off of Bruce Sutter, and in a crazy Cubs Cardinals game that it was. And so he was he's a Cubs legend for sure, and they've got his number flying on the flag, and hopefully he can beat this, and hopefully he can do his. I'm so close to getting to the point where I'm going to be able to go to these games and with press passes and talking with guys. And that was the one thing that I was looking forward to the most. If I were to ever get a chance to go in the locker room or up to the booth, was to finally get to meet Ryne Sandberg, and to talk with him and interview him. And, hopefully I still get that chance, and hopefully he gets the chance to fight this, to beat this, and to have many more years with his kids and with his family.
Yep.
But it's tough news. It's a tough way to start. But look, this is Chicago sports, and we have our players, and there's always, I mean, Chicago sports has been nothing but tough to talk about lately. So it's
good stuff. There's some
yeah.
good stuff. Yes, there's been some stuff. Nobody making the playoffs is a problem.
Yeah, Shannon, I didn't mean to cut. Like, if you hadn't heard the news, I just heard the news probably about a half hour before we came on the show myself. So it was sort of a gut punch for myself. But it's again, it's something that we have to talk about. It's Chicago sports. It's a local folk hero in Ryan Sandberg. He's constantly with the team. He goes to their spring training every year to work with their young players defensively on the infield. And so definitely tough news. But there was some other news today in Chicago sports, and that was the fact that the Bears are getting a new offensive coordinator. And that new offensive coordinator is Shane Waldron. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know if it's a wah. I don't know where I sit at. I think it's very interesting. I want to know if this was a poll, and I don't think we'll ever know, but I want to know if this was a polls hire or a Eberflus hire, because they were talking to Kingsbury, and I thought it would be very, very ballsy of Eberflus to bring in Cliff Kingsbury, a guy who could absolutely take his job if he stumbles at all this year. And then going over to Shane Waldron, who I actually thought might get the head coaching job over in Seattle, especially since Pete Carroll is staying on with the organization in some capacity, from what I'm hearing. I thought he would get that job. So I'm kind of on the fence with Shane Waldron. It's going to be interesting. I saw some play calling this year with Seattle that made me go, wow, you got a little bit too cute there. And yeah, but there was also some games like that game that they played against Dallas, man. They put up 35 points on Dallas in Dallas. They showed up. They looked really good. The passing game looked really good. So Shane Waldron has a resume. I mean, he's off of the Bill Belichick coaching tree. So he does have a resume.
Too cute? How too cute were we? Were we too cute? He threw 3 screens in a row. Too cute, or was it too cute? Oh, that looked like it could have been a special play. They really went for it there.
It was like a running back, a tight end, and another tight end lined up side by side with the quarterback in the backfield. And it turned out to be an end-around handoff to the running back with just the tight end and wide receiver going out to block. So,
great.
It's a very Bears-like call.
Yeah, I mean, first blush, this was one of the guys I wanted. I mean, just getting started here. I haven't seen a lot of his press conferences. Not that matters. I haven't reviewed a lot of Seattle film. I watched a lot more of their games last year than this year. They had a better game last year. They were 13th in offense last year, 21 this year. I just think it gives them a lot of flexibility to go either way now, if they're still not for sure. What it says to me is they might not be for sure where they're going. They get Kingsbury, you know that they're going Caleb Williams. That's why I told you before the show.
You think so?
Well, it seems to me, well, he's coached them. It seems to me they probably just wanted a little intel, maybe.
I mean, he only had 1 year with Caleb. And what if he didn't like Caleb?
Well, that's what you know what I mean. Out, like, right? Don't you want to find out? You at least have to interview him. That's why I thought getting rid of Flus would have been a good idea, because then you can go out and interview all these head coaches, see what they think about you, see what they think about the NFL as a whole. You know, you information gather over this term, especially since you're going to be turning over a lot of the roster this year. I mean, you have a lot of free agents you're going to be bringing in. You have a lot of draft picks you're bringing in. You might be bringing in a new quarterback. You want to know a lot about your team. Well, that's why I thought they would go through the head coaching ranks. They didn't, but now you have a chance with the offensive coordinators. That's why I think they talked to Kingsbury. Maybe even Kingsbury knew that, but still has to take, probably wants an offensive coordinator job. So I had to take the interview.
I think with Kingsbury, when you're going to draft somebody, you get to talk to the coaching staff of the college that you're drafting them from. You know what I mean? Like when you talk to these guys, you talk to those coaches, you talk to them, be like, hey, what are we getting ourselves into? So you didn't really have to interview Kingsbury for that, but maybe Kingsbury came in and they were like, yeah, that's not the guy. You know what I mean? That's very well could have been what it was too.
Sure.
Like who knows what's going on. I'm interested to see, and hear from Shane Waldron. I'm interested to hear from, Ryan Poles about why this was the direction that they decided to go. Now, again, it's out there, and I'm leaving it out there because I don't know. I have BTSD, Bears Traumatic Stress Disorder. I'm going to let it play out. Like I really don't know. I don't know if it's a good hire. I don't know if it's a bad hire. I don't know if I like the hire yet. I'll find out once this season starts, and once I see how this offense is running. I'll find out once I see how they build this team and who they're building it around. Is it Justin Fields? Is it Caleb Williams? Is it neither? What are they doing? At Hallis Hall, how are they building this? And then how does it work? How do they work together? If they're a 14-win team next year, or a 10-win team, or a 12-win team, I'm happy. But if they're a 6, 7, 8-win team, it's the same shit all over again.
They can't be that. That's a failure if they are.
I agree.
Says that the system works for both quarterbacks. That it's it's suited for a QB as an athlete. We're obviously going to see. It seemed like that. I mean, he did coach under McVay. He did, he's, I guess, somewhat a part of the Belichick tree. He was the tight end coach in the Patriots, back in the 2000s, the late 2000s, not when Aaron Hernandez was there.
No, but he was there during that time where they were undefeated.
Yeah, so I mean, been a part of winning teams. Was part of a winning team with the Rams. Definitely knows what it takes to win. Took a team last year that no one saw doing anything, and they played pretty well.
Jeremiah Murray says McVay brought him with him for his first head coaching job, and that guy knows how to run an offense. He's off of the Belichick coaching tree. He was with the Rams, like you said, with McVay, when they won the Super Bowl. I'm with you. I'm not saying it's a bad hire. I just the jury's going to be out. Shanna Stiso Trust, maybe they will have Vrabel for Fields. That would be good since he got fired from the Titans. Well, I mean, if they're hiring this guy, I don't know that Vrabel is going to go from a head coach to a quarterback's coach.
No.
Or if anything, he'll go back to being an OC if he doesn't. I think he's going to get another head coaching opportunity somewhere. Somebody's going to hire the guy to be their head coach. I mean, it might be because you look at places like the Eagles, where the Eagles, a year removed from the Super Bowl, all their fans, since they lost in the playoffs, are like, we need to fire Sirianni. And so they might hire Vrabel over in Philadelphia. Who knows? John Hoffman, best case scenario for Bears, 9 wins. They won't have any more than that. Detroit and Green Bay are going to be tough. I think the Bears will suck again. I think you suck, John Hoffman.
Yeah,
and I don't think that. I think 9 wins. I think I was talking with somebody about this before, and he also says, don't talk about my Aaron Hernandez. Oh God. I think that the NFC North is about to go from the laughing stock of the NFL to one of the best divisions in the NFL, with the Lions, with how good the Packers seem to look. And we'll find out. I think next year will be a very telling year for Jordan Love. He had a great first season. Next year will be a telling season for Jordan Love. I think that this
quarterback, but he's played quarterback in the NFL before. He's been on the team for 4 years.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, but see, that's because they do it right there. You know what I mean? When you look at all the quarterbacks that are in now, look at all of your top 5 quarterbacks. how many of them came out and just started and didn't sit behind somebody?
Well, I mean, even Mahomes came in after,
A year
Alex
after
Smith
Alex
got hurt.
Smith.
Well, he did play the end of that first year. I mean, he did, but 1 year. Yeah, most of the year he sat. He played a few games in that first year, though.
No, he didn't play one game his first year.
Okay, let's
I'm
go to the
almost
tape.
positive. I'm gonna check right now.
I'm gonna ask the production staff. But anyway, to your point, yeah, it's good. But 3 years, you don't sit 3 years on the bench if you're a first pick overall. You just don't. You're worth too much. Your contract's gonna be worth too much after 3 years. You just don't.
Yeah. So he played one game. He played week 17 that year, and that was because they were resting Alex Smith for the playoffs. So he did play one game.
But still, I mean, he's 3 years. He was sitting. It's
Right.
not like Jordan Love did start a couple of games, did play in some games. It's not like he didn't play at all. I mean, this is his first season in the NFL. He didn't play quarterback the whole time. Yeah, it's on the job training when you're a quarterback, but still, this is his 4th year.
Yeah,
and yes, he played well. He played really well this season.
Yeah, I don't think. I think that the NFC North and actually even maybe even the AFC South are really about to be really tough divisions. I think that we're on that swing of they've been bad. Detroit looks really good. Detroit might go to the Super Bowl. You've got the Packers, and who knows what the Bears are going to do? Who knows what the Bears are going to look like next year? We still don't know who the quarterback's going to be. We still don't know. I believe it's going to be Caleb Williams. I've kind of sort of started to turn my opinion on the draft selection of Caleb Williams, and it's not like
you woke up doubting. You woke up doubting Thomas. He's got he's got a moniker back.
And it's not that I'm not saying that Caleb Williams is going to be a great NFL quarterback. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is the Bears. Ryan Poles put himself in a great position with this number 1 draft pick. And it's a great problem to have, right? Because if you don't have the number 1 draft pick, Justin Fields is the guy, right? Like if you're just sitting at number 9, it's not even a talk, right? They're building around Justin Fields.
Yeah, you're building around Justin Fields. You might be even trading that down if you still don't have a second round pick.
Right.
You're probably trading that down to get a second round pick and maybe another pick if you can, and building around him, having that discussion.
Or you trade down the number 1 pick, and now you're building yourself up with even more success, where you might have multiple first round picks again on a team that's won 10 to 12 games, right? So like you've put yourself in a great position, and that was just from me listening to different people talk about it around the league. Like it wasn't just like one person here and there. It was just a gathering of information from listening to people around the league talk about where Poles is at, right? Because I heard Brock Heward come on the radio here in Chicago and talk about how drafting Caleb Williams for the Bears would be a mistake, and how they need to build around Justin Fields. And I've heard other people talk about they need to go get Caleb Williams, and then I've heard people that are on the fence saying, hey, whichever way you go with this, Bears are in a great situation. And I kind of believe that. They
have a lot of capital right now, especially with all, the roses thrown at Caleb Williams' feet. Yeah, you have a lot of draft capital right now, and you could do a lot with that. Whether you trade it or not, I think even if you do it, bring in Caleb Williams, maybe you do have a chance to get that. I mean, maybe the experts are right. You trade it away, you're going to get a lot more for it this year than you got last year, you would think. Even if you trade with somebody who has a 3rd or 4th pick, then you're getting that 3rd or 4th pick in the draft plus everything they give you, which is probably almost as much as you got last year trading down to 9 and then trading again down to 10. You're probably getting enough to build around them to where your team is pretty good, to where your team looks close to San Francisco next year. And we talked about this the other day. What I really want is I want a top offensive line. Look at that Lions team and that Packers team. Oh, so now you're stealing people's content.
So Hoffy, at least when I talk about other people's content, I credit their content. I credit their content, like you did the other day on the show where I made a comment and you took it and ran with it. I made a comment when I was listening to Hoffy talk the other day about how I heard Dak Prescott and Amber Heard were dating because they both like to shit the bed, and then he just took it and used it as his own. Instead of saying, "Hey, Combsy just had a great comment." No, it wasn't that. It was just like, "Hey, listen to me. I'm a smart guy." Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Hoffy. I credit people's content when I talk about it.
Jeez,
just saying.
He'll never listen to us again.
Yeah, he will. He loves me. Marco says, every year there's a quarterback anointed the next best thing. Build and solidify and maybe draft Ewers next year. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Fields has the time to build his draft out. That's another take that I've heard people talk about. Where even if you say you don't take Caleb Williams and you trade down, right, and Fields ends up shitting the bed, and Fields isn't very good. In a couple of years, 2-3 years down the road, you've got another Manning coming out. Why don't you keep building the draft capital? And if you have to, in 2 or 3 years, you can get Archie Manning or Arch Manning, whatever they want to call him. I gave you credit. He says, yeah, after I called you out for it.
Liar! You get the old lady from Princess Bride, John.
You got knocked the fuck out, man. Give me my goddamn.
But
I believe I understand what Marco's saying. Like I said, I mean, I'm like 60-40 on this thing. If they end up getting Caleb Williams, I'll live with it. Like you said, if they suck, I might be looking for another team. I almost did halfway through the season. I was saying go Fins a lot on this show. I just like that team. I like that head coach, but
Broncos country, let's ride.
But the main thing is we're not getting any younger. Yeah. And nobody else is. Like, for people of a certain age, they better start winning. Like, it's been 2 years. No matter what they do, it's time to start winning next year. Like, right goddamn now. I'm not waiting another year to watch a guy develop. So you better be right if you bring a quarterback in here. And if you don't think you're going to be, you better build guys around Justin Fields, because he's at least going to be a top 15 quarterback next year. Yeah,
look, I'm on the fence about, and like I told you, I'm to the point where now I'm just get it right. I'm going to, whatever decision you make, I'm going to let you make it. I'm going to ride it out, but you better get it right. Because if you get it wrong again, like if this regime gets wrong, because I really truly believe we've got the right GM, and I really truly believe we got the right president of operations in Kevin Warren. If you get that wrong with this regime, I'm never going to have faith in this team again, because at that point, I just don't know what it is. You know, we talked about Matt Eberflus and why would Ryan Poles stick with him? It doesn't make any sense. And then you and I were talking on the phone the other day, and I brought up maybe he's doing the same thing that our guy Jerry Reinsdorf is doing. Maybe he's just sticking with a yes man. Because if it's true and Ryan Poles is doing all this hiring, like you said on the phone, then you kept a coach that you don't want doing any of the coaching duties. And what good is that?
Pretty much part of the coaching duties is to bring your staff in. And if this is a Poles hire, which it looks like it might be, I mean, how does Flus know who the hell Shane Waldron is? Maybe he does, but I don't see him anywhere I don't see Flus anywhere on that tree. I wouldn't want to be on that tree, by the way. I've seen that tree. Anyway,
Flus is at the bottom saying, "Take my good hand."
Anyway, don't talk about Flus that way. No. Anyway, yeah, if he's not able to bring his coaching staff together, then what's going on now? And if Shane Waldron knows he was hired by Ryan Poles, then what's going on with all that? Yeah. That's why is he there? Obviously he's a partial yes man, because he wasn't taken. And I put up on Facebook about Shane Waldron being earlier this morning, and I was going back and forth with somebody on Facebook, and they were saying, well, yeah, the other GMs or the other coaches wanted to be a partial GM. Well, they're right there. Well, then obviously, if they wanted a little bit more power, maybe Poles is a little scared he's going to lose some of his power, so he does bring in a yes man.
There's no such thing as the fountain of youth unless you're Virginia McCaskey and Weekend at Bernie's. Flus wanted to bring in their assistant manager from Ace.
Yes, the Ace Harvard repairman.
I don't look.
Shout out to my dad.
I think that whoever they bring in, and I truly believe this, the defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator, both of those guys are going to have the ability to take over for Eberflus if this thing doesn't hit the ground running in 2024. And that's the route that they're going, which is why maybe you don't want Eberflus making that decision, right? Maybe that's why you're like, look, we're going to let you remain the head ball coach for whatever reason. I still don't understand the reason, but hey, we're going to make you the head football coach of the Chicago Bears for 2024, but you're not hiring anybody. We're firing your entire staff, and you're just going to be here because for whatever reason, we don't want to have another head coach. We want to succeed with you, whatever the reason is. Like, it doesn't make sense, but it's just to me at that point, if that's what you're doing, that'd be like I don't know, man. It's hard to. It's like having a wife and being like, look, I'm going to go out on a couple dates. And I'm gonna see what else is out there. Like what at that point, why don't you at that point, aren't you just done? Don't you just need a divorce? Like that's where that's where the Bears are at with Eberflus, and it's very uncomfortable. It's very weird, and it's going to be interesting to watch.
And maybe it's not bad position for Shane Waldron. If he comes in, he's okay, and they just do okay, and he gets fired. Waldron can go on and coach maybe somewhere else. He might have had a chance at a coaching gig this year, but he's just like, okay, this at least keeps me open, keeps me in the conversation. Yeah, maybe that's why he took the job. Maybe he didn't have another job, which is why a lot of Bears coaches take a job here.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, when you're coaching in any major sport, right, it's ego. It's, I could turn this around. Yeah, if I'm getting this guy and this guy, absolutely, we're going to win. You know what I mean? And that's where, like, people, that's why so many players get so many chances, right? Because it's like, oh, he didn't work there, but if I get him, I could fix him. Because that's just what it is. I mean, look at Joe Flacco. The GM of the Browns came out today and says that he hopes Flacco will return for next season. You still have Deshaun Watson being paid like $8 billion. And you're like, oh, I want Flacco back. Like,
well, as a backup.
Well, yeah, but even as a backup, Flacco's not
Deshaun Watson, torn ACL, like he was out lots last year, like.
Well, last year he was out because he was getting handies. I mean, it's just. I know Flus leaves much to be desired, says Jeremiah. He's basically a dead body on the sideline, but that team will run through a wall for him. I don't know that that's true, man. I really don't. I look, I know what you hear people say, just like you've heard people come out and say, oh, the locker room will be tore up if they trade Justin Fields and this and that. I think they're playing for each other, man. I think that team was talented enough to be good. And I don't think that Eberflus, after 4 weeks or 5 weeks of ineptitude, was just like, all right, guys, let's run through a wall and let's be good now. And it just happened. That's not what happened. He got a little bit more aggressive as the year went on, sure. They did some good things, sure, but this defense also lost 3 games in historic fashion in the fourth quarter with leads that no other team has lost. Like those are the things that you have to like. That is the same guy that was coaching those defenses. That is the same guy that was putting. You can't just say, oh, well, they played really hard at the end of the season for him. Yeah, well, what about the rest of the games? What about the first 5 weeks when they were the worst coach team in the NFL?
I agree with you there. I was ahead of you on wanting him fired, but there was some growth. I mean, you have to agree with that. There was some growth now,
because they traded for one of the best pass rushers in the league. That wasn't growth. They got better
at the time. Montez Sweat was not. I wouldn't call him even top 5 pass rusher at the time.
What?
By the end of the season, he was. He had 6 sacks through 10 games? Played 7 games with the Bears, 7, 8 games with the Bears.
He led the Bears in sacks immediately by coming over.
Exactly, because they were historically terrible.
But when you get a guy that can pass rush like that, it makes your whole defense better.
Yeah, exactly. It does make your defense better.
Jeremiah. Well, if we're just going to point out the obvious facts, I'm trying here.
There was some movement in the right direction, at least you could say that. I'm not going to say nothing happened. There was some movement in the right direction. That's what they're pointing to. It wasn't much. And the worst thing about this isn't even that they lost those 3 games. It's that he's a lame duck and everybody knows it in the entire league. And you don't want a lame duck in here when you're going on the 3rd, maybe the 4th year of Justin Fields or the 1st year of a draft pick that's number 1 in the fucking 1st round of the NFL as a quarterback. You first of all don't want a defensive coach, and you second of all don't want a fucking lame duck that's going to be there, and some offensive coordinator that he might see for 1 fucking season. You might be going into the 5th season with Justin Fields on his 5th offensive coordinator, 4th offensive coordinator.
It'll be his 4th. It'll be no matter where he goes, whether he stays a Bear or he gets traded, he's going into his 4th season with his 3rd offensive coordinator.
Yeah, so next year would have been the 4th if Shane Waldron left or whatever. This got blown up again. Yeah,
but do you put Caleb Williams or any other quarterback that you're bringing in here in that same situation? Because you've already done that with the last 2 quarterbacks. You did it with Mitch, and now you're doing it with Justin Fields. Now you're going to do it with another quarterback where you're going to bring it, and these are the 2 scenarios. Shane Waldron comes in and with whatever quarterback they have, and the Bears explode and they're great. Shane Waldron's a head coach somewhere else next year. So you're getting another offensive coordinator. That's best case scenario. Or Shane Waldron lays an egg and the entire coaching staff is gone, and you're going to have a second offensive coordinator in year 2 anyway. I don't understand why we keep going in this circle, but we keep going in this circle.
Marco has a good one too. Same thing they did with Cutler.
Yeah.
You know, they had Ron Turner, and then they had Martz, and then they had I don't know, I forget who else.
Groundhog Day. That's what I said last week. It's Groundhog. The Bears are Groundhog Day. That's what they are. It's the same stuff on repeat, just with different faces, different coordinators, and it's been that way since the McCaskies took over this football franchise. I
wonder if they're just afraid sometimes to just fire everyone.
Well, people are like, why are Bears fans so afraid of greatness? If you have a chance at greatness, you take that opportunity. By taking Caleb Williams, you got to take that. You can't be afraid to take that risk. We've been taking those risks. What do you mean? We've taken those risks for 40 damn years. We haven't had a quarterback stay past his rookie contract in the history of the McCaskies regime. This needs to stop, and at some point, we've got to stop it. Now, look, best case scenario, like I said, they're great next year. With whether it's Caleb Williams or Justin Fields, they're great. And either way, your offensive coordinator is gone because he becomes a head coach, and you bring on. But what you hope is that you bring on the next guy, and you continue to have that revolving door, and you want that revolving door of offensive coordinator, defensive coordinators that get head coaching positions. I just don't see that becoming this regime. I just don't. Can you imagine if in 4 years we're like, oh yeah, there's another guy off the Eberflus tree? No. Like, can you imagine uttering those words? That's what I'm saying.
The tree sending dick pics to fucking secretaries at Hallis Hall.
No, the tree is getting raided by the FBI for child porn, allegedly.
Well, allegedly. You say allegedly. Tony Thomas says Bears will screw up this number 1 pick like Chris Farley and Tommy Boy and his biscuit in the diner.
And that's what it's going to be. Remember when he hits him with that board in the face, the 2x4, and he's like, my face hurts, not here or here so much, but right here. And he's like, yeah, I don't see anything wrong.
when the waitress comes up, she's like, "What happened to your face?"
Yeah, I knew it. Yes. And that's being a Bears fan. That's what it's like to be a Bears fan. And that's what it's like to be a part of this organization. And it's so, I mean, I'm so happy. And not only I'm happy the Packers lost because they're the Packers and I fucking hate the Packers, but I'm even more happy that they lost, that we didn't have to talk today about how the Lions and the Packers are playing in the NFC title game for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Do you find yourself rooting for the Lions?
Yeah.
I do too.
I like Dan Campbell.
I love Dan Campbell.
I like Jared Goff's story.
Yeah.
Another guy who played, a few seasons in the league. Everybody wrote him off.
Why can't the Bears get a head coach like Dan Campbell?
Playing another guy in Baker Mayfield who was written off. Even in some cases, I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks who were written off. Stafford was sort of written off a little bit, even though he was a great quarterback with the Lions, kind of written off, went to the Rams. That was a big trade. He got a big track. I understand that, but the Lions did get rid of him, wanted somebody new. That would be considered the zombie apocalypse.
I don't understand why we can't get a head coach like Dan Campbell. A fiery guy who cares so damn much that he is just that guy. Like
a lot of bad decisions.
I mean, we've already got head coaches that make bad decisions,
but Campbell is like Madonna on prom night.
But we get head coaches that make a bad decision and then are like, yeah, well, we'll send the tape over to the league. Dan Campbell's one of those guys where he makes a bad decision. He's like, we're going to bite off kneecaps. We're going, and then crying in his first press conference as a head coach. Like, I want that guy, man. Well, the Bears need that guy.
Yelly and weird, and he would scream in the middle of the locker room, and he was terrible.
Who?
Matt Nagy.
If you ever say that name on this show again, I'm going to punch you in the throat.
I'm going to stab you in your throat. We're only 37 minutes in.
37 minutes in, and you're talking about Matt Nagy?
Well, what?
Matt Nagy was that guy? Are you kidding me?
He would scream in the locker room. He's like, there was pictures of him. People were like, finally, we got the emotion back. Lovey's gone. So is Trustman. We got the emotion back. John Fox never said anything. We got the emotion back. I don't need an emotional guy. I need an innovation. I need some guy at the top of his game.
I've never been more disappointed. I've never been more disappointed.
Dan Campbell seems like a good coach, but he'll be out of this league in 5 years.
I've never been more disappointed in your take in my life.
He does suck, but he's out there screaming. He's screaming at people all the fucking time. Screaming at fucking referees. The guy's a boob, but he screamed at everybody.
Didn't Matt Nagy once challenge a play that cost the Bears a first down because he was an idiot? Isn't that the same Matt Nagy you're talking about? Like, he challenged a play that the Bears made a catch, and he challenged a play which resulted in an incompletion.
False start, offense, the entire offensive line.
Well, see, this, Marco, if you look at Shane Waldron has a track record of success. He really does. I mean, he has a track. Look at what he's done over the last 2 years with Geno Smith. And now you're going to give him either Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. I think that this is that hire of somebody with proven success. He was a part of those Patriots teams. He was a part of the Super Bowl winning Rams team. He was a part of these football programs. I liked it. That emotion was called nauseous.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was bad. I'm not going to say he was good, but a lot of guys with emotion don't do much. Like Mike Singletary, when he was the freaking coach of the San Francisco 49ers, he'd yell at people. Who did he bench that one tight end the one time and freak out? He took his pants down during a mean, he was terrible.
I'm just mad because we're not going to have a head coach that's going to come into the locker room after win and be like, "Who's got it better than us? Nobody." God, I wanted Jim Harbaugh. I want Bears coaches. I want Bears guys with Bears in their blood, which is why, I like the idea of going out and getting Greg Olson, not the tight end Greg Olson, but the coach Greg Olson, because he coached for the Bears previously. He knows what it's like to be a Bear. I want, guys who have been, players before to come back and be
like Cade McNown,
part of the Bears. Like I want this. I can't.
Like
You ready for Fitz gibberish?
Sort of ready. All right. It's diatribe, it's conspiracy theory, and yes, it's an island in the middle of unapologetic and inaccurate sports talk. I didn't know who that tight end was, so I'm going to take the hit for that one. Combsy!
It's good to have you doing this segment without choking, like you were last week.
Exactly. You can check on YouTube.
I saw the video today on TikTok, and I laughed just as hard as I did that day.
Yes. Barely talk. The first round of the playoffs ended yesterday. And what did we learn other than Tony Romo is back on the reefers? For sure. Couldn't understand him half the time. CJ Stroud in an underwhelming game. Yeah, I'll bet it against very good defense. And Jordan Love, he had a bad game. Let's face it. Reminding us how young these guys are. And even with advanced QBs in their first season, they make some bonehead mistakes, throwing back over your body, over the middle. Not a good look, Jordan Love. Even Brock Purdy, who had the best games out of the young bunch, had at least 4 throws that should have been picks and was throwing dying quails all over the field. I can hear Hawk Harrison echoing in the background. That's a can of corn. The Packers did not catch any of them. At least CJ and Brock have excuses in their first full seasons as QBs. For Jordan Love, yes, he never played in a lot of games, and I said this earlier. It is his 4th season, so crank up the Creed, Packers fans, because that's Kirk Cousins' favorite band. And that's who you might have on your hands. For scoring, if you're scoring at home, Kirk Cousins is the sexual equivalent of the missionary position. Or,
oh God,
take it away, Forrest Gump.
Your mama sure does care about your schooling, son. You don't say much, do you?
Was that Connor Bedard?
It's Kirk Cousins, everyone, as a young child.
Although I thought it was Connor Bedard talking to Corey Perry.
Maybe. What'd you do to my mama? Why didn't we bring that clip up that day? Although, Jesus Christ. Although buried in that cynical gibberish is a silver lining. It's called hope. Chicago sports fan hope, but hope nonetheless for a promising offseason for a Bears team who again has the most draft capital in the league and a lot of money to go into free agency. Well under the cap. Hope for the Combs team, who seems to have some playoff expectations this year, huh, Combs? We can talk about it after the gibberish. Hope for a Bulls team who will make the playoffs this season. You heard it here first. And at the very least, are fun to watch now. Hope for a Blackhawks team that won't be stunted by a broken jaw or a mom with a broken jaw. Hope for the Chicago White Sox team that might be moving to Nashville. No.
South
like
Loop.
possibly the South Side or the South Loop to be exact. I jabbered on here months ago about Chicago's line separating not just neighborhoods, the lines that aren't on maps that we all don't talk about, but you're goddamn straight. We all know they're there. These lines separate the good from the bad neighborhoods. Once drawn, seem to last forever. Sometimes you forget and shouldn't, and I shouldn't. That lines blur. They get tangled. Or my son says, you can erase them, Daddy. So there's some hope for the new year, as I said at the beginning of the year. And maybe there's some hope for the White Sox. Or I'm just smoking too much of Romo's tight stick. Combs.
Look,
Too much tight stick?
White Sox moving over to the South Loop. I mean, look,
you can't even talk.
That's getting really close to Wrigley Field.
I
don't want that stench around Wrigley Field. Okay?
What stench? Huh?
The stench that is a Jerry Reinsdorf owned team. That stench. Yeah. See, you got to come back to that one because you know I'm right.
Years?
Huh?
107, 109 years. How long was it that it took the Cubs to win a World Series? Yes, sell the team, Jerry.
108 years.
Like he's
you act like when the White Sox won it in 2005, which nobody remembers, like they had won it at all in any, but they didn't win it. But they didn't win in your grandfather's lifetime or your father's lifetime. They didn't.
My father's still alive. Did you just kill my father? What the hell is wrong with you?
I meant up until that point.
Oh my God.
Up until that point. They hadn't won a World Series since 1917. And that's because they sold one in 1919.
They won the first World Series in our lifetimes. And that's all that matters.
Nobody remembers it, though.
In our
Everybody remembers the Cubs winning it.
Remember.
Nobody remembers it.
I know you are, but what
I don't even know who they played.
What are we doing here? Take the fanboy hat off for 1 second, Sergeant Slaughter, and have a fucking sports thought.
Here's my sports thought.
Here's my sports thought.
The White Sox were supposed to be a playoff team last year. The White Sox were supposed to be good last year. They won 60 games. No, the Cubs were supposed to be the team that won 60 games, and they were the
playoffs.
That wasn't until September. In September.
You think you put a skinny white guy in the clubhouse and he's going to change the team? You haven't done one thing to improve that 500 team yet. So you can start yapping your gums when they actually
Bellinger had the Cubs logo on his latte today.
Latte. That is so Cubs.
Did you see that?
He had his logo on his latte, everybody.
Did you see Cubs fans going crazy over that?
It's a belly bomb. You're like one of those. You're like when I went to Disney a couple years ago, there's actually people in line for the Tilt-A-Whirl. Older people. They're like in their 50s. You're like one of those people. You're turning into one of those people. Go Cubs, go. Go Cubs, go. Baby Ruth.
By the way, do you remember Hulk Hogan? Do you remember Hulk Hogan and Macho Man fighting over Miss Elizabeth?
Say something good about the White Sox and I'll try to remember it. You think it's a good idea
to say something good about the White Sox?
I don't think it's a good idea that they're moving to the South Loop.
I think it's a good idea for them to move anywhere except for where they're at. The ballpark is in a terrible. That's fine with me. I wouldn't have to travel so far to go to a game.
All right, go on.
Remember when Hulk Hogan was fighting over Miss Elizabeth? Well, we had this the other night at the Buffalo Bills game and Kansas City Chiefs game.
And he took his shirt off.
And then he was taking his shirt off, jumping in and out of the crowd.
He's liking retirement already. That didn't take long.
I mean,
Less than a week. What, a week?
Is Jason Kelsey going to steal his brother's woman?
It'll make a great song.
Shanna's in the chat. Shanna, if you had your choice, Travis Kelsey or Jason Kelsey, who would you choose? Shanna says they can take over Geek Seat Stadium. I mean, that's not a bad idea.
Says, I can't see this name Elizabeth without reading it in the Macho Man Randy's. Elizabeth.
Shanna says neither. Neither. Who's your NFL player of choice?
What about the principal of Forrest Gump? What about Forrest Gump's
Oh my word. If you had to choose Combs or Fitz, who would you choose?
No.
He's like, I don't want to know that truth.
Dad, you really ought to drink more.
Oh God. The Chiefs have a better OC than the Bears. Right now it's true because they don't have the OC. Damn. Shanna's about to get banned from the chat. I'm just kidding.
Either of you. Oh man. Matt Nagy better than Luke Getsy?
Yeah.
That's a yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're both terrible, but that's like what was better, the shit popsicle or the shit sandwich?
They ranked Matt Nagy and offensive coordinators 28th. I think it was Pro Football Focus.
28 out of 32. That's not bad. Luke Getsy was 29.
No, Luke Getsy. Did I say Matt Nagy?
Oh yeah. You said Nagy.
28. Sorry.
Yeah.
Got Nagy
what was Nagy?
I don't know. I'd have to look back at it. Super Bowl champion Matt Nagy.
Dad, you really ought to drink more.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
I thought Buffalo had a good chance of winning that game. I don't know if you kick a field goal there. Try to get a couple yards there. You got a 4th and 2, 4th and 3. Put it in Allen's hands a little bit more. Whew.
Yeah. Same thing with the Packers loss. I thought that the Packers lost it in the first half when they went for it on 4th down instead of just kicking the chip shot field goal. And then you lose by 3. I mean, even though I do think that he did get that first down. I will say that he did get that first down.
It was close.
Nah, he got it. Ken Dorsey is better than Luke Getsy. Yike. Eddie Curry is an NBA champion too.
True. Remember what they asked Scott Skiles how Eddie Curry could be better? And Scott Skiles said if he jumped. Another good coach.
My God.
Old coach, actually. Bulls have had some good coaches. Some bad, too. They got to go okay one now. 21 and 23, man.
Yeah.
Not them going to the playoffs. I know they're in the playoffs as of now, a playing game, but they're only, 2.5 games away from the 8th spot. They're like 3 or 4 games away from the 6th or 7th spot. I mean, playing good ball. Playing the Suns tonight.
Yeah,
or plus 5.5.
They've just become inconsistent again with Zach LaVine. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is a problem. I will agree there, but they're winning over 600% of their games. There's still a lot to go. They don't just pass halfway through the year. Kobe White's playing good. I think the Bulls, they're at least fun to watch. I know.
Yeah, they are fun to watch now.
Sometimes the ball stops, but he's had a couple of 10 assist games.
Yeah.
He's been back already. He had that 13 assist game, his third or fourth game in, and now
Mhm.
had another one recently.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we were talking about Sandberg earlier, and you brought up his Hall of Fame speech and how it was mostly anti-steroid.
It was more like that, people were more worried about ratings and the TV than anything else. They were more, and he had something like, oh, people are looking for that red light. And I think that's what he said. That's one of the lines I remember. They're looking for the red light in the dugout. And that was something Sammy Sosa did. And then we did it right. He had a lot of things where he said he did it right. Why are we queuing up a video of some sort or
no?
Oh.
I could get the video where they
Sergeant Slaughter was going somewhere with this.
Well, yeah, I am
in the WWF.
I am going somewhere with it because I want to talk about Sammy Sosa not being elected into the Cubs Hall of Fame. They elect, Aramis Ramirez and they elect Kerry Wood. But when you start talking about the history of the game and the history of the Cubs and what Sammy Sosa meant to the game and what he meant to the Cubs, he's a better Cub than Kerry Wood and Aramis Ramirez. Now,
he's a better Cub than Kerry Wood for sure.
Yeah, and he's a better Cub than Aramis Ramirez too. What he did, him and McGuire in the summer of '98, greatest summer of baseball that I've ever watched, that I've ever followed. It was just so much fun watching those guys hit bombs and talk about steroids all you want. And that's what bothers me about the Cubs not bringing Sammy back is, they talk about, Ricketts talks about wanting contrition from Sammy Sosa. What about wanting contrition from the executives in the league offices and the owners who knew that this was going on and made billions of dollars off of it? But then the players are the only ones that pay the price. You don't have Sammy Sosa in your Hall of Fame.
Jeremiah says maybe the Cubs just don't like white people.
He's more pink now than he is white, right? Yikes.
I'd say best Cub player of all time. Not a great, not even
whoa.
Well, let's play two.
His stats do not make him the best Cubs player of all time.
What stats then? Who's
his home runs? His home runs do, but the guy was a 240 lifetime hitter. The guy was not. The guy was not a great hitter.
Home runs a year.
He did it for a 4-year span. Let's chill out now. You're making me go from defending Sammy Sosa to going against him now. Sammy Sosa is a great Chicago Cub, but he's not the greatest Cub player of all time. Stop it. Stop it.
Who is then?
Mr. Cub Ernie Banks is the greatest Cubs player of all time. Then you got Ron Santo, who was a better Cubs player than Ernie Banks. Ryan Sandberg was a better Cubs player. What?
Ron Santo?
Yes, Ron Santo. What are you talking about?
I don't want to hear the stats. I don't want to hear them.
I'm not talking about stats.
If we're taking steroids out of the conversation, Ron Santo was not better than Sammy Sosa.
How was he not?
Because he never hit 66 home runs in a season. He didn't have over 50 home runs.
If you're taking steroids out of the conversation, you have to take the home runs out of the conversation.
No, you don't. You're the one that they should be able to take as much steroids as they want.
I completely agree with that. But when the only thing that you're doing is hitting home runs, that's when steroids become the thing.
Score runs. I had 288, 320, 328, 288, 250. I mean, he had some good years. Yeah, he's a 273. No, wrong. Yeah, 273 career hitter. Come on now.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, right now he'd have like 300 strikeouts a season, but still. He had 60 home runs 3 years in a row. Boy, Downing Thomas is
He
is a
was a terrible defensive
closet
player.
Michael Jackson and Sammy Sosa fan.
He did cork a bat.
He
did take steroids. Look,
what do you
I'm
need to
not-
have a cork bat and you take steroids? That's what I didn't get at the time. Come on.
I'm not against players that use steroids, and but what I do say about the steroid era is, if when you look at that era and in context, if you take your home runs out of it, what type of player were you? And if you were a subpar or just a good player, then you don't belong in the Hall of Fame. Like, but Barry Bonds is a perfect example to me. You take away all 762 of his home runs and turn them into outs, he has a 384 career OBP.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Barry Bonds is in a total. He would have been in the Hall of Fame if he didn't take steroids.
But that's what I'm saying. Those are the guys.
Sosa. Would Sosa have been in the. Would he have been in the discussion? Would he have been in? I mean, he didn't do much at all until he started putting needles in his butt. Sorry, Sammy.
Look, Sammy Sosa belongs in the Cubs Hall of Fame, regardless of what contrition they want from him.
Say it to his face. Say it now. Say it with a straight face now.
What, that he belongs in the Cubs Hall of Fame?
What do you got to say now? He does kind of look pink, but he is wearing a pink hat. So I will say that. Where is he here? He looks like he's
does that say wellness?
He looks like Willy Wonka of Puerto Rico.
Does that say wellness on the side of it? Is he at a wellness center? Is he at rehab? Shanna Cecil Trust. Every professional sports player has used steroids. It got in the spotlight because of McGuire, Sosa, and Bonds. It got in the spotlight because of
Williams take steroids.
No, it got into the news because
he's a war hero.
Because it got into
I think there's
the limelight.
I'm not drinking this month, but I think there's just so much alcohol soaked in the air that as I talk, I'm like inhaling fumes from shows past.
It was Jose Canseco that put the spotlight on McGuire, Sosa, and Bonds. It was Jose Canseco that dropped names. It was Jose Canseco that opened Pandora's box and got everybody in trouble. Me personally, I don't believe that. Shanna says, "Go drink some whiskey." I don't believe that, steroids was necessarily a bad thing. And I do kind of agree with Shanna to a point. I believe that everybody in that era was on steroids, and that includes guys like Cal Ripken Jr. I completely believe that those guys were using HGH to get past the everyday aches and pains of playing a 162 game season. And for him to play 2,100 and whatever many games in a row, there's no way he wasn't using something to get past.
I think for sure, like everything aside, I could sort of get the argument for not having steroids, but for any athlete, they should be able to use steroids or something to that effect to get over an injury. They give it to people to get over injuries in real life.
Yes. And not only that, but you look at
but it bleaches your skin.
Yeah, bleaches your skin. You look at the steroid era, you look at these players and you look at how they're the ones right now that have to pay the price. But it's only the ones that the writers didn't like. Big Papi popped on a piss test. He was named in the Mitchell report. He's in the Hall of Fame. There's a few players that were on the Mitchell report that are in the Hall of Fame, but they were liked by the media.
And you could definitely make the argument. I know he never won a World Series, but just with numbers, you can make an argument Sosa was better than him. Doesn't Sosa have over 600 home runs? I don't know if Ortiz touched 600. Did he?
Pete Rose did it all and nothing but cocaine and hookers.
And they were all taking speed. So there was guys back in the day, they were taking speed. And we've talked about this. I've connected Hitler to Major League Baseball. You didn't think we were going to go there, did you?
I'm not touching that one.
I forget the philosopher who said, if you talk long enough, eventually you have to talk about Hitler.
So you
The whole
trying to say
German army was taking speed. The GIs found out about it. A lot of the GIs were baseball players or going into the major leagues. Some of them were. They brought the greenies back. There's a great story of a guy who was like on a bender. I forget the story. Farmer told it once, where the guy, he's on a bender. So he has to take some greenies, what they called greenies, which was amphetamines, to get up for a game. And then there's a rain delay for like 2 hours. So he crashes from the rain delay. So he has to take more greenies. And then there's another rain delay. So the guy was like all fucked up at the end of the game.
Oh God.
He actually had a skin disorder. Yeah, so did Jada Pinkett. And look what happened to Chris Rock because of it.
Yikes.
Ernie Banks,
Wow.
274 on his career. Wow.
I know Ernie Banks was a 274
Interesting.
career hitter,
Interesting.
but he was also a phenomenal shortstop.
Yes.
He was also a phenomenal defensive player,
No,
which is
there's a
something
lot
Sammy
of-
Sosa can't say. Sammy Sosa was a terrible defensive player. He was a liability in right field.
Yeah, he really was. He was actually not bad in the beginning of his career, but once he bulked
Yeah.
up,
That's a problem. Like, fans are always like, well, he hit this and he hit that. Yeah, great. He also had 9,000 errors in his career. Like, and there's a difference between guys that make errors because they get to balls that they shouldn't. Like, Nomar Garciaparra was a victim of that, where he just had such great range. He would get to balls that no other player could get to, and he would make an error trying to make a throw he should never make. Or just being a guy that just flat out is terrible at defense. Kyle Schwarber, for example. You know what I mean? Like,
Derek Jeter got a lot of gold gloves. Oh,
Yeah.
he didn't have a lot of errors, but he get to
Right.
500 balls. I remember one season, it was him against Alexi Ramirez on the White Sox. Alexi Ramirez got to like 650 balls, and like Derek Jeter got to like
Yeah.
490. It was like, it wasn't even close range wise. It's like, no, sorry, they're in two different worlds.
and
You
don't even get me started on people talking right now about that. I was listening or watching MLB Network the other day, and they're talking about does Andrew Jones and Torrey Hunter and there's one more outfielder they were talking about belong in the Hall of Fame based off of defense alone. And absolutely not, because I'll tell you what, I made this argument a few years back for Jim Edmonds, and people are like, no. And Jim Edmonds actually has better offensive stats than all of those guys, and he was every bit the defender that those guys
Jones
are.
has pretty good offensive numbers.
He does it, but go back and look at
If Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame, Andrew Jones should be in the Hall of Fame.
why
Harold
isn't
Baines
Jim Edmonds in the Hall of Fame?
Well, then there you go. Jim Edmonds should be too.
Jim Edmonds was a career freaking I believe it was 284 hitter. I believe he had almost 2,000 hits. I think Andrew Jones was about the same.
Started with a white guy. We end with one.
Well, Andrew Jones was a career 254 hitter, 20 points less than Jim Edmonds. I mean, when you make that argument, you can't just make it. There's a difference. The reason why the Hall of Fame is called the Hall of Fame and not the Hall of Very Good is because it's supposed to be limited to those who are great.
Yeah,
and
that's
these guys were very good. Jim Edmonds was very good. Andrew Jones was very good. He wasn't great.
Andrew Jones was really, really good.
He was really good defensively. So was Jim Edmonds. You remember Jim Edmonds going up and doing the Willie Mays catch, but diving, going up a hill?
Oh, hell, yes, it's one play. Come on, punt the bricks. One play.
I mean, but it's.
I saw Aaron Rowan go through a wall.
That's all Derek Jeter ever made was 3 plays that they play on repeat on ESPN over and over and over again. And he made a Hall of Fame career out of that because they think he's a great defensive player, and he wasn't. He just never moved for the ball, and he fielded everything that was hit at him.
He was better in the beginning of his career than at the end. I mean,
he wasn't even a better shortstop than A-Rod. A-Rod should have been the shortstop of that game, but Derek Jeter wouldn't move positions.
Yeah. Well, he wouldn't give him a gift basket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but he was better at the beginning of his career, and he had a bunch of hits, man. Derek Jeter's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Did he ever hit a cutoff man in his career? Who? Sammy Sosa? No. No. I remember one time Sammy Sosa fielded a ball at the wall. The winning run was coming around third, right? And instead of hitting the cutoff man, he threw it 4 rows deep behind home plate just to show off his arm. Like, guy, if you hit the cutoff man, we have a shot at this guy at home plate. When you throw it 4 rows deep into the stands behind home plate, which is an incredible throw, by the way, but that's not exactly what we were looking for at that point.
So bad!
Juan Uribe made the same exact play as Jeter, and no one ever talks about it.
True.
Yeah.
Went back to the stands. And that was in a World Series game. And then he made a great play right after that.
It's because nobody remembers that World Series.
We remember it. We're somebody.
Who?
I'm somebody.
Yeah, but you said we. You got a mouse in your pocket?
Me and Jeremiah are people. He even said
Barely.
it on the show once.
Barely.
We're barely. How dare you, sir?
I'm playing.
How dare you, sir?
I'm playing. So
this is about the Sox, isn't it? How
no,
dare the Sox have a nice fucking stadium in the south?
I wish they would. But who cares? How do you care if they have? Do you care if they have a great, like the best stadium in all of Major League Baseball? They have that, but they're only winning 60+ games a year because Jerry Reinsdorf still owns the team and he won't hire anybody to actually build a competitive team.
Well, here's what I wanted to say before you had to make it about the Cubs for some weird fucking reason. I don't know. Maybe because you're still a child. You're like one of those old people who go on the Disney rides in Disney World without any kids, which is weird. But anyway, he wants to get his chubby hands. He's going to take his chubby hands. He's going to make wrapping. He's going to get the wrapping paper ready. He's going to make a little present out of the Sox. This is his thing. He wants to sell the team right before he dies for a bunch of fucking money and say,
well, then yes, I want them to get a new stadium. Yes, I want them to be good. Yes, I want them to be relevant.
End game is he thinks, okay, 4 or 5 years, I could probably make that.
How great in this city would it be for a Cubs White Sox World Series, for the Cubs and Sox to just both be good for consistently 5 to 10 years? Like, that's what I want from this city. I want there to be a rivalry again. I want the games to matter again. I want to be able to go to both fields and watch playoff games. I want to be able to see this in a World Series, but it's never going to happen as long as Jerry Reinsdorf owns the damn Sox. I want the White Sox to be good. I actually think that they're building a quiet contender this year, and I've told you that. I want them to be good, and you know that I want them to be good. I don't see it happening as long as Jerry Reinsdorf is owning the team. And I don't think that building a stadium in the South Loop is actually feasible. Where are you putting parking? Where are you?
Where do they park in Wrigley? Up fucking Ricketts, fucking in Ricketts.
No, they've got like 7 parking lots at Wrigley. What are you talking about?
They got 7 parking lots.
Yes.
You're on drugs, dude.
When was the last time you went to a Cubs game?
When was the last time you parked in a fucking parking lot? You parked in some parking garage?
No, first of all, they have sponsorships. It's called the Toyota Camry parking lot, and it's a
Toyota Camry parking lot.
Yes,
are you out of your fucking mind? How many people parking there,
dude?
How many people parking there? How many people parking there? 300
dude.
Cars?
A lot.
Oh, here, I'm going to get on my computer. It's the Cubs.
No, I'm going.
Weird Cubs
I don't think you understand how many parking lots the Cubs actually have. They really do have.
Big. People are parking on the fucking street. They're parking in fucking residential. They're parking in people's driveways.
Oh, yeah. I hate you.
For a Cubs fan to say, where's the parking lot? What are you talking about? You got a bar for a parking lot.
You're an idiot.
How much parking do they have? How many cars can they accommodate, Combs? Can they accommodate 20,000 cars? Ooh, the parking map. He's
1,
got a
2,
map, everybody.
3, 4, 5, 6 parking lots.
How many cars go in these parking lots? I've been to that area.
Dude, I don't know how many cars go. I've never done a survey of the Cubs parking lots.
That area since they built it up.
Then you're not paying attention.
Oh, I'm not paying attention. That's it. There's not a lot of parking around Wrigley, buddy. I'm sorry, Combs. There isn't.
It's also not in the South Loop. Do you really want to go to a baseball game where parking's just as bad as it is at Soldier Field? Like, I'm all for them doing it. I just want them to do it in a reasonable area. Like, they're talking about building an entertainment district in this thing. Well, there might not even be enough room for a stadium, and you're gonna build a whole district. Like, I want them to build something great. I want to go to games. I want to see this.
There's enough room.
I think that it makes more sense for them to try to do something with the Bears in Arlington Heights than it does in the South Loop.
To Arlington Heights for a White Sox game.
Let me ask you a question.
I'll drive to Tampa before I drive to Arlington Heights for a fucking White Sox game. Are you out of your mind? They're not going to move to Arlington Heights.
How many White Sox games did you go to last year? How many White Sox games did you go to last year?
I think 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
4 or 5.
That's cute. I went to 4 or 5 Cubs games in May last year. 4 or 5 all season long. So I don't care about a guy who goes to 4 or 5 games a year not wanting to drive to Arlington Heights.
I don't care that you went to. How many games did you go to then, Combs? So what? How many games you went to?
Because what do you care about whether or not they're in Arlington Heights or in the South Loop? You don't even go to games now.
I'm going there. Are you on? What are you talking about? That's one time a month. I don't want to go to fucking Arlington Heights. You don't even want to
your
fucking go to Arlington Heights.
I do want to go to Arlington Heights.
I want to see all your fucking stubs. I want all your electronic stubs sent to my fucking email address. You son of a bitch. I got pictures from like 10 games and they were fucking in the playoff hunt.
Who was in a playoff hunt?
My team lost 100 fucking games.
That's 20 games for every one you went to.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm going to want to go to a bunch of fucking games. You schmuck. They had a 94% chance of going to the playoffs. They didn't make it. You're over there wasting money, buying bad hot dogs, paying for even worse parking.
Yeah, get with the times, man. They're called glizzies.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's the problem. You're standing in line for the fucking Tilt-A-World. Belly bombs, glizzies, go Cubs, go. Come on. Some of that stuff's got to give you a headache sometimes.
We've been off the air for like 5 minutes, just so you know. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I can see and stream.
Oh, God.
You can admit it. You're in a safe place now. Sometimes
I thought you were going to have a heart attack.
The fact that half the fans, you're in a safe space.
What? What do you want me to admit? What are you talking about?
That half the fans don't even know what the fuck's going on in the park. The Go Cubs song you hate.
But that's every game that's every fan base that you go to a game. Half the fans don't know what's going on in the stadium. What do you mean? That's every fan base. Fan base, you've got about 20% of fans in the stadium that understand what's going on.
No.
Okay.
And
maybe not for the White Sox because 20% of your attendance is like 30. But I don't want to talk about that.
I just hope I hope you care about Michelle as much as you care about how many fans the Cubs have going into that stadium or how much parking you have. Michelle, I hope he cares about you as much as he cares about how many fans go to White Sox games. Anyway, you hate the Go Cubs coach song. Okay, we can end the show.